Dr. Arya Venn paced the length of her small office aboard the research station orbiting Earth, her gaze locked on the holographic displays showing the latest data from the void swell's advance. She murmured to herself, analyzing the patterns, a mix of despair and determination etched across her features. "You know they'll never listen," said a soft voice from the doorway. It was Mara, Arya's closest colleague and a fellow physicist. "They have to. We're talking about the annihilation of entire systems," Arya replied, not turning to face her friend. Mara stepped inside, her brow furrowed in concern. "I've known you too long, Arya. You think they'll see reason, but the Council only sees Earth as a backwater. They dismiss your theories. They'll dismiss this warning too." Arya finally turned, her eyes fierce. "Then we'll make them listen. Help me prepare the presentation. If they see the data, the projections, the same data they've ignored for months." Mara interrupted, her voice rising in frustration. Arya's resolve hardened. "This time, it's different. The swell has accelerated. It's consuming star systems faster than any of our models predicted. They can't ignore a direct threat to their own worlds." Mara sighed, her resistance crumbling in the face of Arya's unwavering conviction. "All right, let's get to work." The next hours were a blur of data compilation, simulation adjustments, and rehearsing arguments. Arya knew this was likely her last chance to sway the Galactic Council. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was as intimidating as it was opulent, with delegations from hundreds of star systems filling the vast amphitheater. Arya stood at the central podium, her heart pounding as she faced the sea of alien faces, some curious, most indifferent. "Esteemed members of the Council," Arya began, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "I stand before you not just as a representative of Earth but as a scientist who has dedicated her life to studying cosmic anomalies." She clicked a device in her hand, and the room darkened as a hologram of the galaxy spun slowly above her head, red areas marking the void swell's path of destruction. "This is the void swell," she continued, pointing to the encroaching red. "It is not a mere anomaly but a catastrophic entity that consumes and erases everything in its path. In the past 6 months alone, it has expanded to consume systems at triple the rate we initially observed. If left unchecked, it will reach the core worlds within the year." Murmurs filled the chamber, some of shock, many of disbelief. A high-ranking delegate from the Draconis system stood, his voice booming across the chamber. "Dr. Venn, Earth has been wrong before. How can we trust your predictions now? This swell could be a natural cycle of the galaxy, beyond our control and beyond our concern." Arya's jaw tightened. "With all due respect, Delegate Tharn, this is no natural cycle. We have developed technology on Earth that can contain and potentially reverse the swell's effects. All we ask is for the Council's support to deploy this technology before it's too late." A delegate from the Cygnus sector scoffed, turning to whisper to her neighbor, loud enough for nearby microphones to catch. "Earth technology? I doubt it's advanced enough to save a dying star, let alone a galactic threat." Frustration flared within Arya, but she kept her composure. "We have already conducted successful tests within our own system. We are prepared to share all data and work alongside the best scientists across the galaxy." The room erupted in chaotic discussion, with delegates arguing among themselves. The president of the council, a venerable figure from the Andromeda species, raised his hands for silence. "Dr. Venn, we will consider your proposal. The safety of the galaxy is our utmost priority, but we must deliberate carefully. Deliberation is a luxury we do not have." Arya pressed, her voice rising in desperation. "Every moment we delay, the swell grows. We must act now." The president nodded solemnly. "We will take your words under advisement, Dr. Venn. You will have our decision within the week." Arya bowed stiffly, knowing a week could mean the difference between salvation and doom. As she left the podium, Mara joined her, her expression grim. "You did everything you could," Mara said quietly as they exited the chamber. "It may not be enough," Arya replied, her mind racing with contingency plans. "If they won't act, we must be ready to proceed on our own." As they walked through the corridors of the Council's majestic headquarters, Aria's determination only grew. Earth might be dismissed, underestimated, but she would not let bureaucracy stand in the way of the galaxy's safety. She would save them all, whether they wanted her to or not. As Dr. Aria Venn returned to Earth, the weight of the Council's skepticism pressed heavily upon her. The journey back seemed longer than ever, the silence of space echoing the grim thoughts racing through her mind. Upon landing, she headed straight to the United Earth Defense Headquarters, where she convened an emergency meeting with top officials and scientists. Despite presenting clear evidence, the Council remains indecisive. Aria briefed the room, which was filled with a mix of military leaders and scientists. We cannot and will not wait for their approval. Our plan must proceed now, with or without their sanction. General Reyes, a seasoned military strategist, nodded in agreement. Dr. Venn, we've begun preparations based on your initial warnings. The prototype containment units are ready for deployment. We just need the green light from you. Good, Aria responded with a firm nod. We'll start with the systems closest to the swell's current trajectory. We need to establish a perimeter, slow its advance while we work on increasing the range and capacity of our containment technology. Mara, who had been coordinating the scientific teams, added, We've also improved the energy efficiency of the units. They can now operate longer with less power, crucial for sustained deployment in affected zones. Aria looked around the room, her gaze settling on each face. This is not just about saving those in the path of the swell. This is about proving to the galaxy that Earth can lead, that our technology can stand up to the universe's worst threats. Let's show them what we're made of. With a collective nod, the room buzzed into action, screens flickering to life, and communications lines lighting up as orders were given. Aria and her team worked tirelessly, mapping out deployment locations, coordinating with Space Fleet commanders, and overseeing the loading of containment units onto the ships. As the first fleet prepared to depart, Aria took a moment to speak with Captain Layton, the commanding officer. Captain, these units are all we have between us and obliteration. Your crew is not just carrying technology, they're carrying hope. Captain Layton, a veteran of space operations, saluted crisply. We won't let you down, Doctor. We understand what's at stake. The fleet launched under the dim light of a setting sun, a symbolic gesture of defiance against the coming darkness. Aria watched from the command center, her heart both heavy and hopeful. Over the next several days, reports flooded in from the deployed fleets. The containment units were holding, creating barriers that the swell could not immediately consume. Each successful deployment brought cheers from the control room, but Aria knew this was only the beginning. Meanwhile, Mara continued to refine the technology, pushing for a breakthrough that could not only contain but potentially reverse the swell's effects. We're close to something, Aria, Mara reported during one of their nightly briefings. The latest simulations show potential for disruption in the swell's core, essentially scattering its energy. Keep at it, Aria encouraged, her fatigue masked by her unyielding resolve. Every minute we gain from the containment gives us more time to find that solution. As the operations progressed, word of Earth's unilateral actions began to spread across the galaxy. Other systems, initially skeptical, started to reach out, requesting assistance and offering their resources. Aria found herself not just coordinating a defense but forging an alliance. One evening, as Aria reviewed the latest data from the field, General Reyes approached her with a communique from the Galactic Council. They're convening an emergency session, he informed her. Seems they've finally realized the gravity of the situation. Aria took the message, her expression unreadable. They convene, while we act. Let them talk, we'll continue our work. The next morning brought surprising news. A delegation from the Council, led by Delegate Tharn, whom Aria had confronted during her presentation, arrived at Earth's Defense Command. Aria greeted them coolly. Dr. Venn, we've come to see your operations firsthand, Tharn explained, a hint of humility in his voice. The reports reaching the Council were compelling. Then you'll see that Earth isn't just crying wolf, Aria replied sharply. Follow me. She led the delegation through the command center, explaining the mechanics of the containment units, and showing live feeds from the fleets at work. The images of Earth's technology holding back a cosmic tide seemed to soften the hardest skeptics among them. As the tour concluded, Tharn turned to Arya. Dr. Venn, the Council apologizes for its initial hesitation. We are here to offer our support. What do you need from us? Arya regarded him for a moment, gauging his sincerity. Materials, space, and a united front, she answered. If we are to stop this, it will be together. Tharn nodded, extending his hand. Then together it shall be. Let's discuss the details. As the meeting went on, Arya felt a cautious optimism. Earth had taken the lead, but now the galaxy was joining them. It was a testament not just to human determination and ingenuity, but to the power of unity in the face of existential threats. Arya knew there were still challenges ahead, the swell was far from defeated, and the technology needed perfecting. But as she watched Earth and the galactic representatives working side by side, she allowed herself to believe, perhaps for the first time, that they might just save the stars. Arya Venn stood in the command center, her eyes fixed on the live feeds broadcasting from the front lines where the containment units were deployed against the void swell. The room was packed with military strategists and scientists, all watching the galaxy's fate unfold in real time. The containment fields are holding, but it's a temporary measure, Arya explained to the assembly. We need a permanent solution, and we need it now. From the back of the room, Mara, her trusted colleague, approached with a tablet in hand. Arya, we've made a breakthrough in the lab. We've developed a prototype that could disrupt the swell's core structure, effectively neutralizing it. A murmur of excitement swept through the room. Arya turned to Mara, a spark of hope lighting her eyes. What are the risks? It's untested on a scale this large, and if we miscalculate the energy output, it could accelerate the swell instead of stopping it. Mara replied, her voice steady despite the uncertainty. We have no choice. Prepare the prototype for deployment, Arya commanded, her decision resolute. As Mara coordinated with the tech teams, Arya addressed the room. This is our best shot. We either stop the swell here, or we lose everything. Coordinate with all fleet commanders. I want updates every 15 minutes. The room buzzed with activity as orders were relayed and the prototype was loaded onto the lead ship. The tension was palpable. Everyone understood the gravity of the operation. Meanwhile, communications from the Galactic Council poured in, now supportive but still bureaucratic. Arya skimmed the messages, her focus unwavering from the task at hand. She responded succinctly. Action, not words, will save us. Hours later, the prototype was in position. Arya, Mara, and General Riaz gathered around the main console, watching as the device was activated. A deep, resonant hum filled the audio feeds, and the visual monitors showed a brilliant flare of light enveloping the swell. Stabilizing energy output, one of the technicians reported. Initial signs are positive. The swell's expansion is slowing. Boost the power. Push it to its limits, Arya ordered, her voice firm. The team adjusted the settings, and the light from the device intensified. Suddenly, the swell's red hues began to dissipate, replaced by the black of normal space. Cheers erupted around the room, but Arya remained focused. Maintain the output. Monitor for any changes. This isn't over yet. For hours, they watched as the swell receded. Reports from other systems began to flood in, all confirming the same results. The prototype was working, the swell was being neutralized. Amidst the celebrations, Arya felt a weight lift from her shoulders but knew the battle was not fully won. Prepare a detailed report. We need to understand why this worked and ensure it can't happen again. As the reality of their success settled in, the Galactic Council delegates arrived at the command center, their expressions a mix of relief and awe. Delegate Tharn approached Arya, extending his hand. Dr. Venn, your leadership has saved countless lives today. The Council is in your debt. Arya accepted his handshake, her gaze steady. This was a victory for all of us, not just Earth. But let this be a lesson in humility and cooperation for the Council. Tharn nodded, chastened. It will be. What are your plans now? We continue to monitor the situation and work on improving the technology. We must be prepared for any future threats. Arya replied, already thinking ahead to the next challenge. As the delegates toured the facility, discussing future preventive measures, Arya and Mara stepped aside, looking out at the stars from the viewing platform. We did it, Mara. Not just for Earth, but for everyone, Arya said softly, allowing the magnitude of their achievement to sink in. Mara smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. We did. But something tells me this is just the beginning. Arya looked out into the vastness of space, a sense of duty etching itself ever deeper into her soul. Then we'll be ready. We have to be. As the galaxy stood on the brink of destruction, it was Earth's defiance, ingenuity, and courage that had pulled it back. And as they looked to the future, it was clear that humanity would no longer be an underdog in the cosmic arena. They had proven their worth, their right to stand among the stars as equals and leaders. In the aftermath of Earth's unprecedented victory over the void swell, the Galactic Council's chambers were unusually somber. Arya Ven stood at the podium, the weight of her new responsibility pressing on her shoulders, not just as Earth's representative but as the galaxy's unexpected savior. The events of the past weeks have not only halted the advance of the swell, Arya began, her voice echoing through the chamber, but have also exposed the fragilities in our collective defense mechanisms and our readiness to face cosmic threats. Around her, the delegates of various star systems listened, their earlier skepticism replaced by a respectful attention. Arya continued, We've been given a second chance, a chance to rebuild and reinforce our defenses, a chance for unity and collaboration. Delegate Tharn from the Draconis system stood, his voice reflecting his newfound respect. Dr. Ven, Earth has shown remarkable leadership and courage. What do you propose as the next steps? Arya nodded to Tharn, acknowledging his change in stance. First, we establish a joint galactic defense authority. This body will not only monitor threats like the swell but also deploy rapid response measures using the technology Earth developed. Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber, a sound that months ago would have been unthinkable given the Council's pride and the isolationist tendencies of many of its members. Arya took the opportunity to lay out her vision, detailing the structure of the new authority, which would include representatives and military assets from all major systems. As part of this authority, we also propose the establishment of a research consortium, Arya added, her eyes scanning the room for any dissent. This consortium will focus on advancing our technological capabilities so that we're never caught unprepared again. Delegate Yo from the Cygnus sector, who had once scoffed at Earth's technology, now stood. And how will Earth participate in this consortium, Dr. Ven? Arya smiled slightly. Earth will share all its research on the swell containment technology. In return, we asked for open access to research from all Council members. Together, we can foster an environment of innovation and security. The Council erupted in quiet discussion, the idea of shared knowledge and resources appealing even to the more reserved systems. It was a stark contrast to the old ways of hoarding technology and knowledge. Seeing her advantage, Arya pressed on. Moreover, we suggest the formation of a galactic relief fund, sourced from all member systems, to aid any system impacted by cosmic threats. This fund will ensure that no system has to face these dangers alone. Delegate Tharn nodded thoughtfully. These are substantial changes, Dr. Ven. They will require a lot of adjustments and, frankly, a new level of trust among us. That's precisely what we aim to build, Delegate. Arya responded earnestly. Trust and cooperation are our greatest assets moving forward. After hours of debate and negotiation, the Council voted overwhelmingly in favor of Arya's proposals. It was a historic moment, marking a new era of interstellar cooperation, with Earth at the forefront. As the meeting adjourned, Arya and Mara walked together through the halls of the Council headquarters, a sense of accomplishment and the burden of new responsibilities mingling in their conversation. We've started something big, Mara, Arya said, a hint of awe in her voice. It's going to take a lot of work to keep this momentum going. Mara nodded, her expression one of pride mixed with resolve. If anyone can do it, it's you, Arya. But remember, you're not alone in this. Earth isn't alone anymore. Their path took them past the windows overlooking the Council's space docks, where ships from countless systems were coming and going. It was a visual testament to the new reality, a unified galaxy, ready to defend itself against any threat, together. Arya looked out at the bustling docks, her mind already racing with plans and strategies for the future. "Let's get to work, then," she said, more to herself than to Mara. "There's a whole galaxy to safeguard." And with that, Arya then stepped forward, not just as Earth's defender but as a leader in a galaxy that had finally, truly recognized the value of humanity's tenacity and ingenuity. As they prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, Arya knew that they would face them united, as a galaxy not of disparate systems and hidden agendas, but as a collective force, resilient and undeterred.